Hello and welcome back to another money grind video. In this one we're going to take one of Gran Turismo's latest cars, the Garage RCR Civic, and use it to grind out some credits. But I'm not going to lie to you, this one is a bit of an animal. And the first thing we need to do obviously is buy the car, and it is, as I said, the Garage RCR Honda Civic, and you will find that in the car dealerships section of the game. Now, once you've bought the car, it's time to tune it. Now, as for tuning, I didn't initially want to do much to it, just increase the horsepower and then add a customisable gearbox to handle that extra power. I did want to change the front end downforce, however, you can't do that with this particular Civic. You can adjust the rear, but not the front, and it doesn't matter what spoiler you put on, you are stuck with the standard amount of front downforce. Now for me, that did create a little bit of a problem. Now, if you're like me and that causes a problem, you may have to adjust your driving style a little bit to accommodate. As for the rest of the tuning, just feel free to pause the video and have a look what changes I made. Now, just as we start the video, if you guys would be so kind as to hit those like and subscribe buttons, it really does help out the channel, and I appreciate every one of you that takes the time to do it. Now, getting back to the racing, the first thing you're going to want to do is make a couple of changes to the car's initial setup. The first one being traction control. Because we added all that extra power, you are going to need at least one, maybe two clicks of traction control, because believe me, this thing likes chewing up tyres. The other one, and again due to the extra power we added, is you're going to have to change your fuel mapping. You're going to have to put that all the way up to number 6, because otherwise you're not even going to get 2 laps out of this thing. So just remember, traction control and fuel map to number 6. Now, I will just point out with the Civic that don't be expecting to break any lap records. It's not the fastest car we've ever used for a credit grind. It's certainly not like the XJ220 or the LM55, where you'll be taking the lead after about half a lap. In fact, I didn't actually take the lead even after 2 laps. I was close, but by the time I got to the end of the second lap, the weather was starting to look terrible, and honestly, I needed to fuel anyway. And as we came in for the first of 2 scheduled pit stops, the first thing I did, which was a little bit unusual for me, is put on intermediate tyres. And mainly because the way this thing chews up tyres, I thought the intermediates would give us a little bit more life in the tyres. So, new tyres, a tank full up with fuel, and then back out onto the track. However, as you can see, we came out in 16th position, which is a little bit harsh, mainly due to the fact that we'd only managed to achieve 3rd before we even went into the pits. But thankfully, as usual, the AI in Gran Turismo just cannot drive them a wet, so we were making up places very quickly. In fact, we went from 16th to 11th by the time we reached the first chicane. However, by the time we reached the second chicane, it was all going, if you'll excuse the phrase, a little bit tits up, because the AI had all gone off the track, and I literally had to come to a full stop just to make sure I didn't incur the overtaking penalty. And just for those of you unsure what I meant by that is, if you overtake any of the AI while the overtaking prohibited yellow flag is showing, you will lose your clean race bonus and a hell of a lot of credits. And once all the carnage was over, it was back to the racing. Now, whereas the Civic had not been fantastic in the dry, it is an absolute beast in the wet. And as you can see, we are now up to 2nd. In fact, before we'd even got to the end of lap 3, we had moved up from 16th to 1st. In the wet, this thing is fantastic. Here we're going to jump ahead to the end of lap 4, because at this point in the race all we were doing is making a bigger and bigger gap between us and the rest of the AI following us. And conveniently, end of lap 4, it's time for our second pit stop. Now, the weather in my particular race was still quite poor, so again I was going to put on another set of intermediates. You will, as usual at LeMans, just have to watch your own weather radar. Dry weather, obviously, stick on some hard tyres. and if it's wet, intermediates or full wets, depending what you're comfortable with. As you can see, after this pit stop, this time we came back out in first, which is much more like it, and the AI were, well, frankly, nowhere to be seen. So now, it's just a matter of driving to the end of the race, keeping it on the track, not crashing, and we've got this one in the bag. And as we jump ahead to lap 6, you can see that the weather has actually started to improve. In fact, it's improved so much that the track was drying out a little bit too much for the intermediate tyres, especially with this car, and well, I was chewing up tyres. Now, despite the fact I'm chewing up tyres faster than the Cookie Monster eats cookies, we still had a massively impressive lead. So now, all we had to do is bring it home. And, okay, we do, very easily. Not quite as easy as some of my other grinds where we sit around and we wait for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, but hell, a win is a win. And despite the Civic being very hard on tyres and very greedy on the fuel, we still come away with a first place, and a first place of more than a minute ahead of the competition, and that gives us 825,000 credits, or more than 1.6 million credits an hour. So there you have it, the Garage RCR Honda Civic as a credit grinder. Okay, it's not the easiest one to do with, but it's definitely one of the more fun ones. It really is quite enjoyable. So, if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. For more great videos like this one, follow this link. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.